What does probation look like for someone who has been adjudicated of a sex offense? And are juveniles eligible to be placed on sex offender registration? For a juvenile who's been adjudicated of a sex offender registration, and there are some specifically listed out offenses that fall into this category, that juvenile is going to have certain legally required conditions of that probation and certain terms that are placed by the judge in every case because they are laid out by the law. Those things include a minimum term of probation of 2 years. We already know that a juvenile cannot be placed on probation for longer than their 18th birthday. So if the 2 years last longer than their 18th birthday, that probation would expire on their 18th birthday, regardless of whether the 2 years is up, unless the prosecutor had gotten approval for determinate sentencing, which we've talked about before. In most cases, it's going to be either the 18th birthday or 2 years, whichever comes first. Some of the conditions that are going to be required are a certain type of counseling that's called licensed sex offender treatment and counseling. That is done by a specific type of counselor, and that program usually lasts about 9 to 12 months. It's a program of counseling, so it's almost like a curriculum instead of counseling like we normally think about, where you would go in and just have sort of a back and forth conversation. That counseling includes individual aspect, parental aspect, and then a group aspect as well. So there's many different ways that counseling sort of incorporates. Another condition is going to be that the juvenile would be required to do polygraph testing throughout the period of probation. Those polygraph questions would be things like, have you violated any of the terms of your probation? Have you had any contact with these people that you are specifically excluded from having contact with? Have you gone any of these places you weren't supposed to go? The polygraph centers around questions that are not as easy to prove based on supervision. It would have to be something that they would mainly know only because the child admits it or doesn't and fails the polygraph. The probation is going to exclude people that the child can see and be around. It's going to exclude places where the child can go. Those places will be places where a lot of kids will hang out. So oftentimes like amusement parks, playgrounds, any type of places where you would find a lot of kids. It may include that the child has to be supervised around other kids that are under a certain age. So even if there are siblings in the home, the child may have a condition that they have to be supervised around their own siblings. The child will have a DNA sample taken and uploaded into a database. And then of course there are going to be the regular conditions like the child has to stay enrolled in school, the child may have a curfew, the child may have community service hours to do, all of those conditions of probation that we already kind of expect to happen. The child may or may not be required to register as a sex offender. The judge, unlike an adult court, the juvenile judge has the ability to not make a child register as a sex offender. Now, the law says that every person who is adjudicated of a certain type of sexual offense would have to register as a sex offender. However, the law around juveniles gives the judge the right to say, I know that I'm supposed to order you to register as a sex offender, but I'm gonna wait and I'm gonna see how you do on your probation. And if you do what you're supposed to do on probation, and if you successfully complete this treatment program, then I will order that you don't have to register as a sex offender. This is only an option for juveniles, and as I'm sure you can imagine, it's a huge incentive for the child to successfully complete that program. If the judge orders that the child does not have to register as a sex offender, they don't. That's the end. Since we know that sex offender registration can have such a huge impact on children's lives, the fact that this option exists for the juvenile judges in juvenile court is huge, and it's something that we really try to focus on when resolving those types of cases. Thank you for watching. Please leave any questions or comments below, or you can visit us at versestexas.com.